history that we were all taught growing up is wrong. My name is Scott Wolter, and I'm a forensic geologist. There's a hidden history that nobody knows about. There are pyramids, chambers, tombs, inscriptions. They're all over the world. We're going to investigate these artifacts and sites, and we're going to get to the truth. Sometimes history isn't what we've been told. Because of my work, I get lots of calls from people who find unusual relics. A lot of times, they're easy to explain. But there's one that's bothered me. And for the last 2 years, I haven't been able to figure it out. Holy cow. All right, be honest. When you saw this, did you kind of lose your mind a bit?
I did. We were down there looking for dart points, fossils, things of that nature, and we run across this, and I couldn't believe what we were seeing. And being, a bit naive on the subject, at first I believed it was a bison, until we started getting some opinions back that no, that's, it's definitely bovine, it's definitely some sort of cattle.
Okay. Nick Johnson and his brother stumbled on this incredible artifact. They had seen one of my lectures and called me up. The horns are very interesting. They're very prominent. They come up, they're symmetrical. So let's get this bad boy inside.
Okay.
All right. I had seen this symbol before, and I know the bull was used by ancient Egyptians in their rituals. But that was 3,000 years ago. It just doesn't make sense. So I examined it to see just how old the carvings were. You see this, probably some mineralization that's on the surface. It's actually in the grooves, too. See, it's sort of transition and then it lightens up here. So what you can say is that the carving was done before this black material was deposited on the surface, if in fact that's what that is. Initially, I can tell you right now, this wasn't made recently. This shows some early signs of age. This looks like a mane of some kind, flowing down. For 2 years now, I've been studying this symbol, trying to get some answers. Bulls have been used as symbols by many groups. Native Americans here, the ancient Greeks over in Europe. But I really think that this carving could be an Apis bull, used extensively by only one civilization, the ancient Egyptians. Which leaves me with the question, how did it end up here? Nigel, I have something pretty special for you today. A guy named Nick Johnson, who lives down in Oklahoma near Tulsa, was walking along the Arkansas River, and he was looking for artifacts, and he found this large stone that has an interesting carving of a bull on it. And there are several people I've showed it to that think it might be Egyptian. Being an Egyptologist, were bulls popular in Egypt, or what can you tell me about Egypt and bulls?
Very popular.
Okay.
It's basically stood for, strength, validity. So we're talking 5,000 years ago.
Okay.
And it leads all the way right through to something you probably heard of called the Apis bull, which is where they have a whole cult to the bull.
I've heard of the Apis bull. It's a sacred Egyptian deity that symbolized the strength of the pharaoh. and was a protector of the dead. Well, I guess now's the time.
Yeah,
Are you
please.
ready?
Yeah, I've
You
come a
ready
long
to
way
take-
to see this, so let's have
Ready
a
to
look.
take a look?
Yeah.
All right, well, here we go.
Immediately, first reaction is that it does look like an apis bull from the top.
What are,
because-
tell me, what do you see that tells you that?
Well, of course, a bull's a bull, ultimately, but the horns here like this, immediately when you first just look at it, that stands out. The apis bull, sometimes there's a ring through the nose, but that's later on. So, yes, obviously it's a bull, which I agree with you on that, but this is very unusual. What do you think this is?
Well, some people have suggested that this is an adornment of some kind,
Right.
you know, something they put on the bull as part of a ritual.
Is this any good for dating, then?
Well, it can be, but not knowing the history or the provenance of where this thing has been over time makes it very difficult for me. The one thing that I can say, and I'll show you in the picture right here, you can see the layers here, and the only way that's going to happen is if you have either lengthy or aggressive weathering. The question is, how old is that? Well, the honest answer is I don't know, because I don't know where this thing has been.
So therefore, the obvious thing to me that jumps out is then, why Egyptian? Why not Native American?
The Native Americans, especially in the Central Plains region, they would have revered the bison more than the bull. So, and that would look very different. It wouldn't have the high horns. And so I haven't seen anything like this in Native American art. Some archaeologists in the local area immediately dismissed it. What they assumed was that it was a modern creation, and it could be. The only thing that makes me pause is I see significant weathering of the grooves. Let's say a group of Egyptians that came over here to North America in this case. Would it make sense for them to carve a bull?
No, they always leave the same inscriptions. They leave the name of a pharaoh in something called a cartouche, which is a rope which encircles the king's name, because he wanted people to know how important he was, how powerful he was, where he could go, that he had visited that place. Secondly, it's a hell of a long way. They don't like the sea. They're terrified of the sea, in fact. They don't want to go on it. So when they do want something, say from Syria, Israel, that kind of places, they always subcontracted. They got merchants to do it for them.
So what you're saying is, based on what you know about the Egyptians, this carving here in Oklahoma would not be consistent with the Egyptians?
No. And they would have made a bigger stamp about it. They would have made a bigger impression. There would have been other artifacts if they were here. You know, a lone traveler, possibly, but it's a long way to get lost, isn't it?
Well, at this point, I think we've determined a couple of things. That's definitely a bull. It may or may not be an apis bull. I have to go see the site where this came from. I want to get samples of this rock and compare it with some of the rock there to see, is this rock in Tulsa? I have some doubts that the bull carving is Egyptian in origin, but it does look old. A sample pulled from the same environment where this was found could help me figure out if it was carved in Oklahoma. My next stop is Tulsa. I want to know if this is ancient. And if it is, I want to know who made it and why. It's been almost 2 years since Nick Johnson came to me with a 500-pound stone carving of a bull. Bull symbols are found in ancient Egypt, but why would one be found in Oklahoma? I'm heading there to find out for myself.
Hey, Scott.
How you doing?
Good, how are you?
The reason that we're here is we're trying to figure out, is this thing really old or not? I mean, is it weeks old, a few years, decades, hundreds, thousands of years old? And if it's thousands of years old, this is a big deal. Where did we find this thing?
Aaron spotted it first and said, hey, did you see this rock?
So you actually saw it first?
Yes, yes.
And
it was something I thought would, catch your eye immediately.
so walk over there to look at it, and here's this big bull carved on the rock. We didn't know what to make of that. You know, what is a big bull doing out in the middle of the river out here?
So, right out here past these rocks, so
Here.
what is now in the water?
Yeah, probably about 20, 30 yards out past the water's edge. There's a hydroelectric dam upstream. They started letting water out probably 11 o'clock or so it started to fill up pretty fast.
So after you found this thing and you've got it safe, then what happened?
Well, I started taking pictures and emailing anybody I could find that might be able to tell me something about it, what it's doing out here, if anybody had ever seen it before, if anybody had any clue how old it could be, whether it was authentic, whether it was modern.
One of the issues that I have is we've got a flowing river here, and water is a rapid eroder. It makes rock break down very fast. So if it's sitting in a river that's going up and down and it's flooded, let me ask you this, would it have been underwater today where you found it?
Yes.
It would.
Yeah.
Well, I gotta tell you, Nick, that concerns me a little bit if the boulder was carved out there. In other words, if that boulder was sitting there and somebody carved it and we've had the water flowing over it, it could have made those grooves, you know, in that weathered appearance relatively quickly.
Yeah.
So that's a concern to me. What I'd like to do is grab a couple samples and eventually get them back to the lab and just compare it with this, you know, the rock that you have and see what turns out.
Okay.
I know that the bull carving is on a piece of sandstone, which is rock that has a number of unique physical and chemical characteristics that can help establish where it came from with reasonable certainty. If I can find the same rock type here today, it could help get to the bottom of where this carving came from.
Scott, what do you make of this?
This would be a great piece to take back to the lab to maybe do a little comparison with your carving. This is a good control sample. I think I have what I need.
There's a spot 5 miles downriver called Turkey Mountain, and there's supposed to be some other inscriptions and carvings along the cliff face that people have reported. You want to go down there and check that out?
Let's go.
Let's go.
All right.
Here. Should be probably about a quarter mile. We're gonna want to kind of keep our eyes in this direction. There should be a fairly tall cliff. Apparently it's pretty high up, anywhere from 15 to 30 foot up from the ground. So.
Okay. There's a cliff wall there.
Yeah, and there's a trail right here, so let's check in here. Might be back up in here just a little bit.
Does this feel right to you?
Should be about the right area, yeah.
All right.
Watch out for the snare here.
Okay.
It says bad dog right here.
Bad dog. Well, I don't think that's very old, but it's interesting they used a pecking technique.
I think we're in the right area.
What's that over there? Let's go take a look at that. There's stuff all the way along here. Wait a minute, what is that? Right there. No, that's modern graffiti.
There's supposed to be a face around here.
Face.
A human face.
Looks like there might be something up here.
That's it. That's
Yeah,
the face.
This looks like it's a head right here.
Is this a profile of a head?
This is a face.
Which way is the face pointing?
This is the back of the head here.
All right.
Some sort of headgear or something with something protruding out of the front of the face. And you can see a nose here.
Yeah. You know what? I gotta be honest with you. I don't like this. I think this is modern. I think we should head down. Let's take a look at this over here, guys. These lines right here. This looks like it could be Ogham. Ogham is a really old written language that uses vertical lines. Irish Celts used it between the 4th and 10th century AD. There are more than 400 Ogham sites along northwestern England, Wales, and Ireland. A lot of academics, however, are skeptical about Ogham in North America.
Apparently there was a guy named Barry Fell from Harvard who said that this was Ogham and that it translated to G-W-N or Gwen.
Okay. Gwen. Well, Gwen, the name Gwen, if this says Gwen, one possibility is it could be the Celtic explorer Gwen. And the Celts, if they were here, certainly would have used Ogham. You know, as I look at this stuff, I keep thinking about that river that we've been, walking along all day today. And, these early explorers, if they were down in the Gulf of Mexico and they went up the Mississippi, the first large river to the west is the Arkansas River. And so that's the way they would have traveled. And this is literally right on the river, so it makes sense. You know, guys, I really like this. This looks good, and we've got a lot of other stuff here that we can use to compare, and I don't know if this connects with the bull. It might not. So we have a rock found in a river with a bull carving that could connect to ancient Egypt. And not too far away, we have a possible Celtic Ogham inscription carved on a cave wall. It seems like these clues are unrelated, so I need to figure out more about this ancient language and how it all fits together. And for that, I need to travel to Ireland. I'm here to try to figure out if the Irish Celts came to America long before Columbus. And I'm also here to try to find out if this Ogham script that we found in Oklahoma could possibly be evidence of their voyage to the New World.
If we could find an Ogham inscription in America, written in Irish, then we would have absolute proof that the Irish were living in America in the early medieval period.
Well, I tell you, the reason I'm here is we have, at least people say, an Ogham inscription in Oklahoma. And I want to try to learn more about it.
Ogham is an alphabetical script which is unique to Ireland and to places where the Irish settled. It was a fashionable way to record names of people in stone in the 5th to the 7th century.
Can you describe me, what exactly does it look like?
It's made up of straight lines, and to the untrained eye, it looks like tally marks. But the lines are arranged in a very specific way, each set of lines representing a consonant or a vowel. We have a beautiful example here in the library of an inscription from County Kerry, and I'd be delighted to take you in and show it to you. This is about the standard size of an inscription of this kind, which date from the very birth of Irish Christianity.
So what does this inscription say?
This inscription records the name of the man either who's buried here or whose property this is. We follow the vowel line up the center, and then the consonants are on either side. And it's important that they're on the proper side, because if they're on the wrong side, it'll mean nothing. This is the proof that this is an Irish Ogham inscription. You know you're reading in the right direction, and you know you've got an Ogham inscription. That's what you need to find in America.
Only the Irish Celts used Ogham script, not all Celtic people?
This particular alphabet is used only by Irish Celts and is found, as far as we know, unless you can prove otherwise, is found only in Ireland or in areas that were colonized by the Irish.
Do we know how far they traveled, and where do we find these?
We're reasonably certain that they got as far as Iceland. Did they go further to America? I don't know. You find the stone, you prove it.
Well, I tell you what, I have some pictures I'd like to show you on my computer, so maybe I do have an Ogham inscription. So, Damien, here we have what some people claim is a short inscription here. This is at a site called Turkey Mountain in Oklahoma. Not far away, there was a very beautiful Egyptian-style bull carving found. I don't know if they're associated with each other, but it wasn't far away. What do you see here?
I have to say, from what I can see, I see 5 or 6 lines, almost all of them vertical. And there simply isn't enough in that to be able to say this is an Ogham inscription. This bears a superficial resemblance to Ogham in that it has straight lines.
But let me ask you this. If we were able to find a legitimate early Irish inscription, we could say that that was evidence of early medieval Irish contact?
Correct, a legitimate Ogham inscription, absolutely. Provided it is legitimate, it works the Ogham way, and it is the Irish language that is on it, you have absolute proof that the Irish were there. And if there's one there, I certainly would like to see it. I'd encourage you to look. I believe that in Oklahoma, in the Anubis caves, there are inscriptions which some people claim bear a resemblance to the Ogham. Why don't you check that one out?
Hey, Phil. Scott Wolter, how you doing? Thanks for meeting me out here.
Oh, you're welcome.
I'm trying to understand how a 500-pound slab of rock with what looks like an ancient bull carving ended up in the Arkansas River just outside of Tulsa. Not far from that site where this bull carving was found, we also looked at some Ogham. And I understand you've got both Ogham and carvings that include a bull here. Is that true?
That's right, Scott. I think our carvings and inscriptions that we have here are probably the best example of Old World Celtic explorers coming to the Americas long before Columbus, and I'd love to take you to the caves. I've been researching these caves, the caves we call the Anubis caves, for over 30 years now.
Anubis is the jackal-headed Egyptian god of the dead. He was associated with mummification and protecting the dead as they journey to the underworld.
In the late 1970s, a local rancher brought another researcher here to these caves, and she recognized the figure Anubis on the cave wall, and that's hence the name, the Anubis Caves.
So you've got Celtic writing and evidence of religious practice of the Celts. You've got Egyptian symbolism and iconography consistent with them being here, a presence here. And you've also got a bull carving. This whole investigation I started began with a bull carving. I mean, if this is what it could be, this is a huge discovery.
I think it is. This is cave number 1.
Okay.
I want to show you over here cave number 2 and 3.
Okay.
This is cave 2, and you can see the markings
Oh, yeah.
right up on the wall from here.
Boy, they look great. Here we go. I got her. Wow. Well, these are amazing.
Now, here's some of the marks that I'd like to show you. Here's the bull, and you can see the ribs drawn in Celtic style and the horns.
I mean, that's clearly a beast. Looks like a bull to me. And these lines right here. This looks like it could be Ogham. So what does all this mean?
Well, this was put here 1,500 years ago by Celts who came here and made a monument to their god Mithras.
I only know a couple of things about Mithraism. It's an ancient religion practiced around 100 to 500 AD. Its god, Mithra, was also known as the sun god, and it also incorporated bull slaughter.
Mithraism, it was a secret, a mystery religion,
And this is a practice of the Celts?
and it was also a practice of the Celts. You come over here, you can see the rising and setting sun. And then we have the sun god with his rayed head and crown. And then we have the god Anubis with his white crown and the flail stuck in his back, just as he appears in Egypt.
Clearly Egyptian. And I do see some modern graffiti, obviously right here. Modern graffiti can be very helpful with dating. It gives us a comparison. I do see, you know, some of these look like they've been aging for a while. What's your take on the age of these carvings?
Well, we have dated this to approximately 300 to 500 AD.
That's very
That's
possible.
quite old. There's a series of alignments here that only occur on the day of the equinox.
So you're talking about archaeoastronomy.
That's correct.
Well, that's a little something I know about. I mean, many cultures did this for thousands of years and aligned their buildings and structures to align with planets, moon, the heavenly bodies. And you're saying we have that here? What happens here?
It's just like going to the movies. We've often referred to it as the world's first motion picture. The shadow moves up across this panel into the setting sun. Tells a story of Mithraism. The Celts believed that in Mithraism and that their soul came down from the heavens and then returned back to the heavens and to their god Mithras.
So there's a shadow play here on the equinox, which happens only twice a year, in the spring and in the fall. And it's when both day and night are of roughly equal length. It was also a significant day for many early cultures. Just as it was summer turning into fall, it also represented the change from life into death. If this shadow play illuminates these symbols, then it clearly represents something fundamental with the spiritual beliefs of whomever carved this. So this is the cycle of life?
Yes, it's the cycle of life from beginning to end.
So Phil, what you've told me here and what I've seen is a very detailed, very complicated equinox alignment here that was made by explorers that came long before Columbus. I know it's not far from the equinox. We're coming up close. I would love to come back. This is an important site and it changes history.
We'd love to have you come back. Let's do it.
A guy named Nick Johnson down in Oklahoma found this in the Arkansas River. We don't know how old it is, however. I then talked to an Egyptian expert about the possibility that maybe this was an apis bull of the ancient Egyptian religion. And he basically said, yeah, I see some things that do look like it could be an apis bull. But then he said he saw some things that he didn't like, that weren't consistent with that. And then I went down to the Panhandle in Oklahoma, and I went to a site where I saw some ogum, I saw another bull carving, and the whole discussion of possibly the Celts coming here and carving something based on the Mithraism religion.
We really know the Mithraic religion through symbols and images of its god, Mithra. He had a solar crown and was holding a sword or a large dagger and was sacrificing a bull. And here we have a bull. It flourished from about the 1st century to the 4th century AD. And practitioners, they believed their souls came from the stars.
What would they go through? I mean, what are some of the rituals? Do you know?
The Torabolium was an initiation where a pit was dug and boards were put over the top of the pit. You, as the initiate, would be brought in underneath this grating.
Okay.
And a bull would be taken over the pit and sacrificed where 50 liters of blood would pour over you. You physically got new life from this blood from the bull. Now, if that is not a visceral initiation, I don't know what is.
Well, if you're sitting in this pit and a bull is slaughtered above you and the blood is just draining out and covering, you would remember that. One of the things when I was talking to the Egyptian expert was he couldn't make heads or tails of this flowing lines here on the back. Could that be blood?
I think you're definitely on the right track there. You know, if you're looking at Mithraism, the bull symbolism was an extremely important symbol.
This bull seems to represent almost an amalgamation of two things. One, this Egyptian Apis bull religion and Mithraism. I mean, is it fair to say that one sort of evolved from the other?
Absolutely, without doubt. Mithraism actually was a reforming of the Apis religions of Egypt.
Now, this is all starting to make sense. If it wasn't the Egyptians who made the bull symbol, it was somebody who was influenced by the Egyptians. Right now, all signs point to the Celts. The site that I saw in the Panhandle, because of the presence of Ogham, they're thinking that the Celts were the ones that were responsible. If they were the ones that came over here, the question is why?
Christianity was around. People get chased out, and certainly it's a very strong possibility that the Celts were simply the Celtic Mithraic practitioners were chased out.
People will go to amazing lengths to find a place to practice their faith. And isn't that what North America really has evolved into? I mean, that's what the United States is. But the idea that people were coming here hundreds and thousands of years ago for the very same thing is really pretty incredible.
Well, I tell you, this is an absolutely extraordinary stone.
When I was down on the river, looking at the site where Nick told me he found this stone, one of the things I wanted to do is to see, did this rock come from that area in Tulsa? And it appears that it does. This is a piece of rock that I collected that is sandstone. It's virtually identical to this slab that the bull is carved in. You know, it answered the question for me. I believe that the bull was probably carved somewhere near where it was found. Maybe not exactly at that site on that island in the river, but somewhere nearby. It seems to me that really the most likely candidates, if this is indeed ancient, it has to be the ancient Celts. Joe, I've been invited back to the Anubis Cave on the equinox to see this alignment that occurs at that time, and I want you to come with me.
I will be there.
Someone was in that cave thousands of years ago, and someone with an advanced understanding of archaeoastronomy put those carvings there for a reason. If the cave illumination is anything like what I've been told, then we're in for something spectacular. It's really going to be, I'm sure, an amazing experience to see this whole Celtic, Mithraic religion that appears to have been brought here. And if that's true, then we have a real game changer in this whole history of the North American continent. I'm about to witness what sounds like a spectacular illumination here in the Oklahoma Panhandle that may explain a mysterious bull carving. The alignment is taking place during the autumn equinox, when day and night are of roughly equal length. Not only could this be proof of an advanced understanding of archaeoastronomy, but possibly the presence of ancient Celtic travelers in America's heartland, practicing their Egyptian-influenced religion. What I'm hoping to see is the story of Mithraism played out in light and shadow right before our eyes.
Well, Joe, according to the researchers, the Celts carved this site sometime back around 300 to 500 AD. And if that's correct, it changes history in a huge way.
Well, you know, Mithraism was around for centuries. Centuries of time where Celtic tribes would have been influenced by Mithraic mystery religion and Mithraic practices. So, you know, if what you're saying is that you found evidence that is old, and it's showing symbolism of that's 1,500 years old in Mithraic, what other conclusion can we come to but that there are Celtic tribes that were here?
Long before Columbus.
Yeah, definitely long before Columbus.
Hey, Phil. Good to see
How
you
are you?
again.
Nice to see you.
Yeah, it's my friend Joe. He's the expert in Mithraism I told you about, and very interested in seeing the alignment today on the equinox. And what do you say? Should we get after it?
All right, Scott, let's get on up.
All right, after you. Well, Joe, is there evidence of Mithraism here in your eyes?
It's clear. I mean, it's absolutely clear to me that, I mean, these symbols are so distinct. Here you have this canine figure, possibly Anubis. You know, Anubis, the Egyptian jackal god, as he was hunting for the bull. We have the sun. The sun is connected to his Mithras. And we have this figure that is clearly a Mithraic-style sun god. Right here, we have this deeply etched bull.
But I'm starting to see that this bull symbol is really important. We see it as the Apis bull in Egypt, in Mithraism. That bull that Nick found in Tulsa along the same waterway that would lead the people to come here that also has the bull. There's a very good chance that that's part of this whole thing as well. Well, really what we're talking about here is another example of archaeoastronomy. I mean, talking about a geographic spot that is aligned with the heavens. And this is something the ancients have done for thousands of years. Well, Phil, we're only moments away here, so can you tell Joe what's going to happen with the alignment here?
Sure. There'll be a wedge of light between two shadows, and it'll progressively pan up across this panel.
Okay.
And as the lower shadow comes up, there will be a little knob of shadow. This is going to move halfway up the sun god's face, half obscuring his face, and the sun will be half obscured below the horizon. And as the shadow completes obscuring the head, that's the moment that the sun finally dips below the horizon.
Sure.
And the lights go out. You can see the shadow has moved up and is now right underneath the sun god's chin. And that reflects exactly what's happening on the horizon. The sun is touching the horizon.
So it's happening right here. This is incredible.
It's extraordinary. I mean, look at that. It's so clear what I'm seeing here. I mean, it is clear that Mithras, at this time, in the autumn, he is sinking down into darkness. And there is Anubis who's going to be risen above. And Anubis, of course, you know, the jackal-headed god, he was the god of the dead in the underworld. And as he is risen above symbolically right there, he's risen above the sun.
The head of the sun god is almost completely in shadow. Anubis is nearly fully illuminated, and it's already starting to go dark.
That is a really complex alignment.
Someone with a great deal of knowledge and precision has been able to make this map, watching the shadow creep across here. They've laid out their lines, and they've had to have known something very special to have the skill and the knowledge to do this.
This is incredible. Here again, we have a brand new chapter in American history right in front of our eyes.
You know, Phil, your theory that the Celtic tribes that were practicing Mithraic things came here, I mean, this is all just making so much sense now. It's really something.
So let me ask you a question. How does the Egyptian symbolism, Mithraism, and the Celts all connect?
Well, you know, every single one of the people that you mentioned, they revered the sun, the moon, and the stars. They knew that it was their way to keep track of everything that was important to them.
I agree. This site was as important as the Dead Sea Scrolls are to biblical history as this is to Celtic history.
Well, I tell you guys, this has been incredible. We started with the bull in Tulsa, coming out of the Arkansas River. Not far away, we saw Ogham's script. And if we follow that trail up the Arkansas to one of its tributaries, it takes us right here. And this incredible story of Mithraism that we just saw play out on the wall, it was amazing. And really, the only reasonable people that could have done this were the Celts, 1,500 years ago. I can't think of any other candidates. And for that reason, this site here should be, I think, designated as a National Historic Site, and it absolutely changes history in a profound way.
My search to uncover the meaning and origins of a 500-pound bull carving strongly suggests ancient Celtic explorers brought their religion to America. Celtic worshippers of Mithraism who entered into their faith through a baptism of blood from a sacrificed bull may very well have made their way to Oklahoma. The stone carving found in Tulsa could hint at their gruesome initiation, trails of blood running from the bull's head and neck. I saw the story of Mithraism play out before my eyes in a spectacular illumination on the autumn equinox, a testament to an advanced understanding of archaeoastronomy. Everything I've learned could mean that America's first pilgrims may actually have been Celtic explorers who left clues behind. It's up to me, and to all of us, to figure out what those clues mean to the history of this country.
So my main interest at the time was exploring the cave. I wanted to know what it was, how far it went. There are bronze weapons in there, swords, spears, shields, knives. Many artifacts, something like 7,000. No two are exactly the same. It proves that many of the things that have been taught in elementary school, high school, and colleges was wrong. They were treasure hunters searching for that cave. So I decided to completely hide its location. Search all you want, you'll never find it.
The history that we were all taught growing up is wrong.
My name is Scott Wolter, and I'm a forensic geologist. There's a hidden history that nobody knows about. There are pyramids, chambers, tombs, inscriptions. They're all over the world. We're going to investigate these artifacts and sites, and we're going to get to the truth. Sometimes history isn't what we've been told.
Our country is filled with caves, caverns, and burial chambers that could hide artifacts and sacred wonders from long ago. I've looked for the Ark of the Covenant, the Holy Grail, and other things rumored to be hidden here. I think these things are just waiting to be found by those who search hard enough. Without a doubt, some of the greatest lost treasures of all time are those from ancient Egypt. where vast burial chambers lie virtually empty, the pharaoh's riches having vanished. Many people believe these old world artifacts were brought to the New World, and I think they could be right. A few years ago, I examined some alleged Egyptian artifacts said to have been found in a cave in rural Illinois. But Illinois isn't the only place said to hide such treasures. That's why I'm heading to another place where many think ancient Egyptians once came with their vast riches, the Grand Canyon. Stretching 277 miles, the Grand Canyon is about 18 miles wide and up to 6,000 feet deep. It was carved out by the Colorado River about 500 million years ago, and the layering of the rock reveals a huge amount of our nation's geological history. And there are caves here, but only a few of them have been explored. So if ancient Egyptians brought their treasure here, it's likely still hidden. And I'm meeting a guy who says he knows where it is. Well, Jerry, thanks for meeting me here today in this amazing place.
It is. It's very amazing.
You know, there are many myths and stories about ancient cultures coming to America with fantastic treasures. Some people say that there's a treasure buried here somewhere in the Grand Canyon. And I have a newspaper article from the Phoenix Gazette in 1909 that talks about a treasure here. Let's take a look at this. Explorations in Grand Canyon, mysteries of immense, rich cavern being brought to light. Remarkable finds indicate ancient people migrated from the Orient. And that's amazing.
Yeah, it is. And you know, the person who did this exploration was G.E. Kincaid. He'd been hired by the Smithsonian, and he went pretty much looking for this cave full of treasure and this lost city that's down there.
Did he find it, and what happened after that?
Kincaid knew what he was looking for. He pretty much went to the spot, found a series of steps that went up the cliff wall, went into the cave. He found not only hieroglyphs, but he found all kinds of artifacts.
Like what?
Well, statuary. There were mummies in there. There were indeed pieces of gold and silver.
Now, one of the things they mention here is that this particular cave is virtually inaccessible. Although it does talk about 1,400, 1,500 steps, sandstone steps that were carved into the rock that would allow them to get there. The other thing that's amazing to me is, according to the article, this cave is so massive that 50,000 people could have lived there. So potentially there could have been thousands, if not millions, of artifacts inside this cave. And the fact that we look around here and we see this geology, we know we've got sandstone, limestone. It's going to lend itself to caves, and I know that there's a lot of caves here, so, you know, that fits. But today, the Smithsonian's official position is that this whole story is a hoax. Is that correct?
We'd contacted the Smithsonian. They deny that there's a cave, that there's any evidence, that there was anything here.
So are you suggesting that the Smithsonian is covering up something here in the Grand Canyon?
Oh, they absolutely are.
Because I know that you've done a lot of work out here. You've made some expeditions here. What did you find?
Well, we came here trying to find the truth. Kathy, my wife, did the research over a number of years and finally pinpointed a spot that we believe is exactly where this would need to be if it truly existed.
So where is that location?
You know, this is a really difficult place to get to, Scott. It isn't easy at all. But yeah, I can show you where we believe the cave is at.
So you're up for it?
I'd be happy to show you what we know.
Well, Jerry, what makes you so sure that you know where this site is?
Well, once we got to the site that Kathy had identified, we started looking very closely at anything that might have been left behind by the Smithsonian explorers and excavation team that had been there ahead of us. We found buttons, pieces of glassware, a name badge, several small pieces that were 80 to 100 years old.
So do you think this corresponds with the expedition back in 1909?
Yeah, I do. Now, this place is very dangerous.
Why do you say that?
Well, it's dangerous because while we were there on several occasions, There were government stealth helicopters.
Stealth helicopters? Seriously?
They know it's there, Scott, and we know that they know it's there.
So, do you think they were trying to scare you off?
I know they were trying to scare us off.
Let me tell you this. If there's an ancient site somewhere down in the Grand Canyon, possibly Egyptian, they're not going to scare me off. Ancient Egypt is famous for its vast riches and immense wealth. When King Tut's tomb was discovered in 1922, his coffin alone was made from solid gold and was worth over $13 million. Much of the treasure attributed to Egyptian pharaohs has yet to be found. So what I want to know is, could it be here in America? If it was hidden away on U.S. soil, some people think it's in the Grand Canyon. An old news article suggests Egyptian treasure was found here, and another treasure might be here too, the Ark of the Covenant. My search for the religious relic turned up clues nearby in Arizona's Petrified Forest National Park. If any treasure is here in the canyon, it's in an incredibly dangerous and inaccessible spot, possibly even guarded by the government. But the reward is too great, and I have to find out what's hidden here.
There were things that were going on that just didn't make any sense for such a remote location.
I want to find this thing wherever it is, and I need your help.
This area where the cave is located is considered sacred ground by the Hopi, Navajo, Zuni, and other tribes of this area.
Do you think that maybe they might have some information that could be helpful to us?
Well, I know someone who might have some answers to fill in the blanks.
The Zuni tribe are Pueblo people who have made the Southwest their home for hundreds of years. To the Zuni, the Grand Canyon is a holy place, their creation story telling how the ancestors climbed up from its basin. Even today, Zuni men still make pilgrimages to the Grand Canyon to venerate this sacred site. Clifford, as a Zuni tribal elder, what can you tell me about the Grand Canyon, what it means to your people?
Well, the Grand Canyon, to the Zuni people and other Pueblo tribes, this is considered our place of origin, not only in terms of religion, but also spirituality, about where our forefathers and our ancient ones came out of.
Is there anything in your creation stories that talks about some of these mysterious caves, maybe even the one that could possibly hold Egyptian artifacts?
In our spiritual teachings, there are actually rooms inside the Grand Canyon, and there's several passageways.
Right.
So that parallels with some of the history about the early 1900s, and also about some of the treasures that a lot of Indian tribes talks about.
Are there any stories about what might be in some of these caves?
I've heard a lot of different stories from different tribes that talk about these treasures that are supposedly in there. But then also I heard about a pyramid that's supposedly inside the Grand Canyon.
A pyramid?
A pyramid.
So Clifford, your oral stories say that there were cities inside of these caves and pyramids in the Grand Canyon.
I absolutely believe in that because there's been a lot of different crossing of different cultures in this part of the world. It's my understanding that there was a lot of Egyptian type relics and artifacts that were taken from inside the Grand Canyon.
Are there any stories about any of these caves being cursed?
In most Native American sites, there are natural occurrences that might be considered cursed. It's sort of like a guardian type thing, and it's still even in existence to this day.
You have to tread very carefully.
Absolutely.
So do you think there still could be treasure down there?
Oh, absolutely. This is a huge place. And if you look at the rooms and the space inside the canyon itself, there's a lot of artifacts of past civilizations. I believe in that there's a lot of treasure still inside the canyon.
Do you think we can get there?
Well, you might try getting there, but it's very dangerous.
Well, you know, I appreciate what Clifford was saying, but I'm not ready to give up yet. We have to figure out a way to get into that cave.
Well, it's a very dangerous place. Clifford was right. I have some video to show you of our 2002 expedition into the canyon. It'll show you exactly how dangerous a place this is.
Sounds good. Let's take a look.
This is our camp from our 2002 expedition when we were at the Grand Canyon trying to find a way down to the area where Kincaid's cave would be found.
It looks like it drops right off, right?
Beyond this point is just a sheer 2,000-foot drop-off. People standing here on the edge of the canyon, past that point, it is straight down maybe 2,000 feet.
Just what I'm seeing here does look, I mean, that's a pretty steep slope.
It's absolutely dangerous, absolutely dangerous. And here you see, now they've gone over the edge, they're hanging off the ropes, they've gone down maybe 800 feet. And this one fellow's just hanging off the rope. They're suffering heat exhaustion. There's no way you can carry enough water to get to this place.
So basically what you're saying is to get to this cave, I mean, it's virtually impossible.
It is. All right, what you're looking at here is while our team was going down, descending into the canyon over these cliffs, you can see very clearly.
Holy crap.
There's this unmarked plane that's flying well below the canyon rim. As you see it going right through there. We've also seen helicopters, and they've buzzed us at various times we've been there. They don't have any markings either, and we feel they must be government helicopters, government airplanes. They were watching us.
Or maybe they were trying to scare you off.
Probably trying to.
So they never did get down to the cave entrance.
They never did. Yeah, it proved to be way too difficult. Heat exhaustion took over, and it was really very difficult to get them back to the surface.
Do you think that we could climb down here realistically?
No.
I mean, how long would that take? What are we talking about time-wise?
You need expert mountaineers and a lot of rope.
Well, you know what? There might be another way to get there.
All right, what do you have in mind?
49er Canyon ground, wind 1806, left turn eastbound approved, runway 21, clear for takeoff.
And Candy, Capture 49, boost ready.
Capture 49, tower proceeds course to southeast.
Capture 49 with Golf for southeast departure. Here we are over the Colorado River. I need you to tell me exactly where you need me to go.
Yeah, it's just right down there below that ridge.
So I'm going to do an orbit. I'm going to lose a little bit of altitude here.
Okay.
And do an orbit over the location.
1046, Nanquay, plan 19, climbing 95.
And Eagle 49 is over the little Colorado River.
Right there. We need to descend down below that ridge line in order to see directly across into the canyon.
I can't do that. The FAA has restricted all flight below the canyon rim. I'm not allowed to descend down there.
So you're telling me that the FAA, the government, will not allow us to go down there?
Absolutely not. Chapter 49, Zinni Alpha Green 174.
We need to descend down below that ridge line in order to see directly across
The FAA has restricted all flight below the canyon rim. Not allowed to descend down there.
So you're saying that the government will not allow us to fly over this area right here? This is where the Egyptian cave is supposed to be?
No, sir. We're not allowed down there.
That's the level that we think that the cave is at. It's right there.
Okay. Just beyond that next drop-off.
Exactly.
So, Jerry, we are pretty much above it, on top of it, you think?
Yeah, there's the circle of rocks from our campsite.
Is there any way that we could get down on that plateau just above it? Could you land there?
We can land on the top. I can get you on that plateau right over there.
Okay. Well, I guess that's the next best thing.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and just land right down there.
6-9.
And 978 Eagle 49 is landing. I'll call you back up in the air.
So, Jerry, this was your base camp right here, right? This is where you started your operation to get down to what you hoped was the Egyptian cave?
This is it. When we were here before, the guys that were going over, we thought they were prepared. We really didn't know what it would take at the time. And they went down about 800 feet, and they ended up getting stuck.
800 feet? That's only about, what, halfway down to where you think the cave is?
It's about halfway, yeah. Going over the side, it just seems impossible. You can't see the cave from the bottom, nor can you see it from the top. It's at an in-between level. It's completely obscured.
That newspaper article is very compelling from 1909. Something happened here in the Grand Canyon. I think the government is hiding something. The fact that a plane flew by when you guys were down here rappelling tells me that they had to have been watching you. They're guarding something. The oral stories of the Zuni and other tribes around the Grand Canyon clearly suggest that some people came here, that there are many caves here, but there may be caves that housed ancient cultures and maybe artifacts, possibly the Egyptians. So I'm convinced that there is something here.
Well, we've only scratched the surface, and we're sure that there were ancient cultures who came through here. It could have been the Egyptians. We think it was someone from the Orient. There's some talk that even the Ark of the Covenant might have come through here.
You know, I recently was in the petrified forest, and I saw a petroglyph that looked just like the Ark of the Covenant. So maybe the Ark of the Covenant did come to North America through the petrified forest. Maybe it's down there in that cave. After taking a good look around, it's clear that further exploration is impossible. It frustrates me not to reach this cave, but it isn't the only cave in America rumored to hide Egyptian treasure. There's another cave in southern Illinois, and while I've studied artifacts allegedly taken from it, I've never seen the cave itself. I met the man who claims he found this cave, Russell Burroughs, and I even got his story on camera.
They were people searching for that cave, treasure hunters. So I had decided that the best thing to do is to completely hide its location, which I did.
Now he won't talk to me at all. But maybe it's time to go look for the cave and see once and for all if Russell was telling the truth. You know, speaking of treasures, there's another cave in southern Illinois, Burroughs Cave. I'm sure you've heard of it.
We have.
I've actually spent quite a bit of time looking at the artifacts, but I've never found the cave, and that's where I'm headed next. I want to find Burroughs Cave. If If I can find Burroughs Cave, it would be a huge step toward proving Egyptian treasure really did make it to America. And that's why I need to visit someone who may know just how to find it. Harry Hubbard, an artifact collector and researcher who's devoted his life to studying the Illinois Treasure Cave. Harry has some examples of the treasures that he's eager for me to see. This is amazing. It looks like the greatest hoard of treasure I've ever seen in person. But they're not gold, these are made of lead, right?
That's correct. These are replicas of original gold pieces brought out in 1985.
What happened to all the gold? Where is it? These are replicas.
Right. Well, Burroughs melted the gold and then sold it off.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay. You know, I'm seeing Egyptian iconography, I'm seeing some interesting text, a sun god symbol. To see all this stuff that you have here and to think that it was actual gold treasure at one time is amazing. I mean, it's got to be one of the greatest hoards in history.
The original pieces came from here in Marion County.
Okay.
There's an ancient tomb very nearby.
Okay, the cave, right?
The cave.
All right, tell me about the cave.
The original description indicated that there were 13 crypts.
Okay.
The main crypt had a king in a solid gold sarcophagus, and there was one crypt that actually had a woman in it. And the rest were ancient kings. 13 cadavers buried in one crypt.
So you're convinced that the gold that came out was real?
Oh, yes, most definitely.
Well, let's get back to Russell Burroughs.
Okay.
He's the guy that told me fantastic stories about pulling out not just gold artifacts, but artifacts carved and made out of stone. I've talked to him about these artifacts.
And did you study those artifacts?
Absolutely, I did.
What did you determine?
Well, I can tell you with absolute certainty that I think I know what's behind this notorious mystery of the Illinois Cave and how it might connect with the Grand Canyon cave that I just looked at. I'm on the hunt for Egyptian treasure that legends say is buried somewhere in America. The big question is, where is it? I've checked out a prohibited area at the Grand Canyon in Arizona. And now I'm examining replicas of possible Egyptian artifacts found in another cavernous hiding place here in southern Illinois. Legend says the original gold and the other carved pieces were taken from a cave here in the 1980s. But whether this is a true story or a tall tale remains to be seen. I've spent years trying to get to the truth myself. In 2010, I managed to get the only interview of Russell Burroughs ever known to be filmed, and I examined some of the artifacts he claimed he found. The varied collection ranged from a shaman and a cartouche carved in black marble to a white marble stone with the Greek goddess Isis on it. But after I questioned their authenticity, Russell refused to speak with me again. The key to the mysterious cave in Illinois here really centers on Russell Burroughs. I mean, he's the one that made the cave famous. That's why they call it Burroughs Cave.
He is the reason that a lot of people have become skeptical of the artifacts, because a lot of them have been tainted and forged.
You know, I felt it was important to give Russell an opportunity to say something about it, so I interviewed him back in 2010.
I'd like to see what he's got to say.
Well, in 1982, I was out working with my metal detector searching for an old home site. I was walking down the trail on the bluff, and I stepped on a rock which dropped me into a pit or a hole. And lo and behold, behind it was a cave. There are bronze weapons in there, swords, spears, shields, knives, many artifacts, many, something like 7,000. No two are exactly the same.
Well, that's quite a story, isn't it?
This one is different from the rest of them.
Oh, really?
Yes. The story changes quite frequently.
Well, one of the things that does jump out at me is his descriptions of what he sees in the cave are incredibly detailed.
Well, Burroughs describes 13 crypts. The main crypt is a man in a solid gold sarcophagus.
Do you think...
I believe he saw those things.
Well, I have an artifact I want to show you.
That's the Isis stone, an Egyptian-looking female who's kneeling in reverence to Ra, the sun god.
And this is an artifact that, if you look closer, is very revealing. You look right here, you can see that there are some carved characters here. This is English cursive writing. Why would English writing be on an ancient Egyptian artifact? That's problem number one. This particular stone is exactly 2 inches thick, as are most modern white marble tombstones used between about 1850 and 1950, very commonly used at that time. But it gets more interesting after that. If you look at this kind of dark gray material, that's actually modern mortar.
Okay.
The next thing that happened here is you see these chips on the backside?
Right.
Somebody chipped the backside, apparently to try to remove the inscriptions on the back and make it look old. So there's no question in my mind that this is a fake artifact and that it was made from a modern white marble tombstone. But that doesn't mean that the cave doesn't exist. In fact, it could very well exist, and I have a couple of artifacts that I want to show you that Russell claims came from his cave. It looks like perhaps it's an Egyptian shaman. It's got the Egyptian beard. It has a very creepy look to it, and it could very well be authentic. Who knows? This is another artifact that looks very interesting to me.
Right.
This is a cartouche, an Egyptian cartouche.
Yes, it is.
And in most cases, cartouches carry the name of a pharaoh or somebody of importance.
Well, these two are authentic. There's no doubt in my mind. There's not that many people that know Egyptian glyph, and the ones that are carved in Egyptian glyph, the grammar, syntax, everything is pretty much correct.
After looking at all these artifacts here, looking at all the replicas of the gold, imagining this vast treasure underground, my question to you is, do you think the cave is real?
I know the cave is real. And we know how all this came over here. Come on, let me show you something.
Okay.
This is the man who brought all the treasures over here from Egypt.
Oh, really?
Yes.
And who is this?
His name is Alexander Helios. He is the missing son of Cleopatra and Mark Antony.
Alexander Helios was an Egyptian prince whose famous parents, Antony and Cleopatra, committed suicide when a Roman emperor conquered Egypt. Alexander Helios, as the eldest son, may have feared for his life and fled the country with the family fortune. At the time, Egypt had many sailing ships, so perhaps Helios came to what's now America to seek refuge, bringing his treasure with him. All right, so why did he come over here?
One of the stones clearly says we left the Mediterranean to escape persecution. And he's all over these artifacts, probably on about 500 of them. And it tells his life story here. After about age 10, he vanishes off of the face of history.
Okay.
But here we have him as an older man, as a younger man, in different costumes. He was a priest of the sun, and that was his name, Helios, which is Greek for the sun.
Okay. So you think he came here?
Yes.
And when was this?
Probably about 25 BC.
Well, that's very interesting. And how many people do you think came with him?
According to the tablets, probably 50,000.
50,000 people. Well, that's pretty interesting because when I was out at the cave in the Grand Canyon, they talked about it being big enough to house 50,000 people. And maybe the cave that you have here, that you think is here, maybe those people also went out to the Grand Canyon.
So what do you think of the theory that Alexander Helios came here to North America with all these treasures?
Well, it's interesting for a couple reasons. One is Helios and the people you talked about are real historic figures. And the fact is they did disappear from the pages of history. And they had to go somewhere. Why not here? So I like it from that standpoint, but I need to see more evidence before I'm convinced. I mean, these are great, but I need to find that cave. Do you know where that cave is?
Yes, we know where the cave is.
All right, show me.
Now, this map came from the file cabinet of one of Russell Burroughs' associates. I've been researching this for 20 years, and there's been a few things that I was wrong about here and there, but the location of this tomb is not one of them.
Okay.
This is what we call the pinpoint map.
All right, so this is his secret map, right?
This is Russell Burroughs' secret map. And if you'll notice, there's a ravine system here. And right here, there's dots right here. And also, there's a red dot right here.
Okay.
There's a cavern in one ravine and a large room underneath the ground of the other one.
Okay.
And I'm gonna put an X right there and right there.
So X marks the spot.
You got it.
How far away is this ravine system?
About 4.5 miles away.
Well, Harry, if you're right, I've got to get out there and find this cave. You know, there's always truth in legend. We have to get to the truth, and that's what I'm going to find. Some people believe that ancient Egyptians may have come to America with their treasure. And now, I'm searching for these caves that may hide these amazing artifacts. I visited the Grand Canyon, where it's believed there were caverns of vast riches from afar. And here in Illinois, I've examined replicas of the many Egyptian artifacts that are said to have come from Burroughs Cave.
When I saw them, I said to myself, where in the world are these from?
Using the secret treasure map that Harry Hubbard gave me, I've tracked down the landowner of the area on the map. And although Harry wasn't allowed on the site, I've been given access. And if there's a cave here, I'm going to find it. I'm investigating the possibility of Egyptians bringing treasure to America. I was just out in the Grand Canyon and I investigated a mysterious cave that is alleged to contain treasures. And now I'm here in southern Illinois investigating the Burroughs Cave mystery, another Egyptian treasure possibility here. What do you think about all this?
I think it's a very fantastic legend. How could people from the Middle East have made it across the Atlantic up the Mississippi and found this spot here out in the middle of nowhere?
I can appreciate your skepticism, but there is an historical figure called Alexander Helios, who about 2,000 years ago did disappear from the pages of history. And he was of Egyptian heritage. He did have ships, he did have a following, and the question is, where did he go? The other thing that is really interesting and compelling to me is that there are at least 7,000 artifacts that reportedly did come from Burroughs Cave. I've seen a couple thousand of them myself, and some of them are quite ornate and beautiful, and they had to come from somewhere. Those are two things that do intrigue me. But I want to hear more about what you have here. And this is supposed to be the area where the cave is. What do you know about it?
Well, let me show you on my aerial view here, my property here.
Okay.
We have the road to the north that we entered here, and we're parked right here at the edge of the woods and this open field. And there's supposedly 2 ravines where these Egyptian tombs or caverns are supposed to be located.
Okay. I do have a map here that I'd like to compare with your map. Okay. So here's your, looks like it's right here. So that would put us, these are the 2 ravines you're talking about right here.
Correct.
So apparently, this is where Burroughs Cave is located.
That's what most people believe, yes.
Are you willing to take me in there?
Yes, I am, Scott.
Discovering Burroughs Cave here in Illinois would be the find of the century. But the questions surrounding the veracity of the artifact's discovery are a problem for most everyone, including me. I want to know, did Russell Burroughs really find and conceal this cave, or did it ever exist at all? His own accounts suggest it's off a trail near some bluffs, just like the bluffs on Stevens Land, so I think we're in the right area. Burroughs said he slipped into a pit that led him into a long treasure cave. My examination of the geology here will be key. If there's not a cave here, then I need to analyze the rock to see if there could be one underground.
Scott, this is the West Ravine.
That is a natural rock shelter. Does it go under here, too?
Yes, there's a ledge underneath where we're standing.
Pretty impressive, actually. Can we get down there? I sure would like to look around here a little more.
Yeah, there's a trail over here to our right that leads down into the ravine.
The first thing I can say is the rock shelter in the ravine is not a cave, but a cave entrance discovered back in 1982 might have become hidden by a rockfall or overgrown by trees in the 30 years since burros first found it. I'm not ready to give up on the idea ancient Egyptians might have come here and tunneled out deep into rock. But to find out if that's possible, I'll need to test the rock type.
So Scott, here we're at the spot that was marked as an X on your map, but I don't see any caverns or chambers or anything. I see a lot of sandstone that's been naturally eroded by water over hundreds of years here.
Well, you're right. And, you know, looking at the map, it was a very small scale map, and that dot that was put on there, and it may be on the correct spot, it may not.
You know, one of the things I'd like to get a sense of is how well compacted this sandstone is, how strong it is. Could they have tunneled through this following fractures and maybe taking advantage of natural, you know, openings in the rock? You know what I want to do is I want to see what is holding those sand grains together.
You see anything, Scott?
Yeah, I'm seeing sand grains that appear to have little or no cement. That's why this stuff is pretty soft.
Yeah, this piece is just crumbling in my hands.
Right, right. There's one more test that I would like to do, though.
What we have here is dilute hydrochloric acid. I want to see if there's any calcite cement, and if it's there, it'll fizz. So let's see.
This looks like they're being absorbed into the rock.
Yeah. It's soaking in quickly, which means there's little, if any, cement. It's an open space between the sand grains. This rock, in fact, does lend itself to carving caves. You know, I've been to places where I would say absolutely not, but here I would say it's possible.
So, Scott, what does it all mean?
Well, what it means to me is, could ancient cultures, conceivably from Egypt, have come here to your property and carved caves and put Egyptian treasure in them? Yes, I think they could have.
Being a realist, I'm not sure that I believe that the Russell's Cave or the Mystery Tomb ever existed. And I think this thing's sort of been perpetuated by the fact that Southern Illinois has the nickname as Little Egypt. That's been around since the early 1800s. There's various things that have that word Egyptian in them. Like the local newspaper has pyramids on it, and there's pictures of the Sphinx. And then as a coincidence, the town at the confluence of the Mississippi and Ohio is named Cairo. For anybody to have come over from the Middle East, made it all the way over here across the Atlantic, and much less down in Illinois, would be just the most fantastic voyage in the history of mankind.
Well, you think it's geographically far-fetched that the Egyptians could have come here to the heartland of America, but I'm not ready to give up on that idea just yet. In fact, I firmly believe that there were many cultures that came here prior to Columbus, going back thousands of years. So it's certainly possible that the ancient Egyptians did come here to America. We just need to find more proof. There are incredible stories that ancient Egyptians somehow made their way to what is now the United States. But from all that I've seen, I think that behind these legends is an astounding truth. At the Grand Canyon, I heard from a descendant of some of Arizona's earliest inhabitants about encounters with ancient travelers from the East. It's a story echoed by the earliest European explorers, who found clues to an Egyptian voyage that I think the government may be covering up. I saw an amazing account of a Smithsonian expedition to uncover a wealth of Egyptian treasures hidden in a cave large enough for 50,000 men. Maybe the 50,000 men whom some believe were led here by the son of Antony and Cleopatra. I think the Illinois Treasure Cave and the cave in the Grand Canyon could very possibly be real. The geology proves beyond a doubt that ancient people could have carved hiding places for their vast treasures in both locations. This great land we know as America has many natural treasures, and I'm absolutely convinced that it's been drawing people here for thousands of years. The history that we were all taught growing up is wrong. My name is Scott Wolter, and I'm a forensic geologist. There's a hidden history that nobody knows about. There are pyramids, chambers, tombs, inscriptions. They're all over the world. We're going to investigate these artifacts and sites, and we're going to get to the truth. Sometimes history isn't what we've been told. The Big Apple. Out of the 8 million people that live in this city, I wonder how many of them stop to think about the history all around them. Wall Street is named after a barricade that used to be there. One built by Dutch settlers in 1624 to keep the English out. Back then, Manhattan was actually called New Amsterdam, until the English finally broke through and gained complete control of the island, renaming it New York. Clues to the past are hidden amongst the skyscrapers, subways, and street signs. I'm here because one New Yorker says she's discovered a mystery right in Central Park. A centuries-old tie between this modern city and ancient Egypt. That's a beautiful pendant. You must be Dorothy.
Yes, I am. Thank you. It's wonderful to see you, Scott. Here, sit down and let's talk. Do you know what this is?
I think so. That's a cartouche, and those symbols are Egyptian hieroglyphics. Cartouches are basically a rounded vertical oval shape, that typically has the name of an Egyptian pharaoh. And they were often carved into stone and found inside the tombs of many of these pharaohs. And for archaeologists, they're very important because they can use them for dating. I don't think I know who that is, but I'll bet you do.
It's Thutmose III. He actually was one of the greatest pharaohs in Egypt because he expanded Egypt to its greatest size ever. And I did some research, and lo and behold, I found out that there's a monument in Central Park with this cartouche.
Really?
Yes.
Here in Central Park?
Here in Central Park. Why don't we go and take a look?
Sounds great. So your monument, it's an obelisk.
Many people in the city of New York and elsewhere don't even know that there is an Egyptian obelisk here.
So is this a real Egyptian obelisk?
Yes, it is known as Cleopatra's Needle.
It's covered in scaffolding. What's that all about?
Well, what happened was about 2.5 years ago, an associate and I, we sent some photographs of the obelisk in its current condition to the head of the Supreme Council of Antiquities in Egypt.
So what exactly were you concerned about?
We saw some cracks. The hieroglyphs were eroded. We were concerned that this was a condition that was going to continue unless some attention was paid to it.
All you have to do is look at it. You can see that the corners at the base are very degraded. And on the second level of scaffolding, you can't even see the hieroglyphics. And even though this thing is a granite, which is generally a very hard and durable rock, in a climate like New York with many freeze-thaw cycles, if you don't take care of it, it's going to fall apart.
That's right.
You mentioned something about that cartouche being on here.
Since the scaffolding is up there, we really can't see it. So I do have some photos here that you can see the cartouche right there.
So we know that this is the cartouche for Thutmose III.
That's correct.
But what does the rest of the hieroglyphics say on this obelisk?
What it generally says is that Thutmose was a great pharaoh and that he extends his gratitude to Amun-Ra for his greatness.
Amun-Ra, that's the sun god.
Yes.
The most important god of all of Egypt, for the simple reason that without the sun, there would be nothing.
That's right. And they understood that energy.
Sure.
During the time of Thutmose, the top of the pyramid, what's called the capstone, would have been covered in gold. And that would have radiated all over. And there actually were over 100 obelisks, and these all would have been lighting up all of ancient Egypt.
When Dorothy mentioned there were more obelisks like this, and that some were capped in gold, I remembered one I saw on a recent vacation in Paris. The obelisk of Luxor is located at the Place de la Concorde, which means place of peace. This obelisk was erected to symbolize peace and placed at the spot where a guillotine used to stand. The same guillotine used to kill King Louis XVI and Marie Antoinette. The placement of this obelisk is very significant to Paris's history. But now I'm wondering if the placement of New York's obelisk also has meaning. When I look at this obelisk here that came from Egypt, my question is, why here? Why did they place it at this spot in Central Park?
It's no accident that the obelisk is here.
I don't think it's an accident either. How long has it been here in the park?
It's been here for 135 years, since the 1880s. It's 3,500 years old.
That's 1,500 years before Jesus' time.
That's correct. Thutmose had 2 of them made. The other one is in London, and they were outside of his temple in Heliopolis.
Heliopolis was the Harvard of ancient Egypt. It's where all the important pharaohs went to school. They learned what are known as the ancient mysteries, lessons we now call the 7 classic arts and sciences, which included mathematics, geometry, and astronomy. Today, all that's left of Heliopolis are ruins in Cairo, an obelisk in London, and this obelisk in New York City. So this obelisk here in Central Park, how did it get over here from Egypt?
Well, it's a really interesting story, Scott. The New York Masons, from the transporting to the paying to the actual erecting, they're responsible for the obelisk being here.
So they were involved from start to finish.
End to end,
The
yes.
Freemasons, interesting.
And 9,000 of them marched up Fifth Avenue in full regalia.
Really?
Yes, and I have some pictures here that you can see.
This is a big group. They've got their Masonic aprons. This was important to them. But that begs the question for me, why would the modern Freemasons be at a cornerstone laying ceremony for an Egyptian obelisk?
Because the Freemason that went to Alexandria in Egypt found artifacts inside the foundation stone that link right to Masonic symbols.
Wait a minute, you're saying these are tangible artifacts that connect directly to Freemasonry?
Yes.
Now, a lot of people believe that modern Freemasonry started in 1717, but is there a connection going back to ancient Egypt? The symbolism of obelisks in Egypt are very important, but also the placement geographically, where they put them is also important. And I'm wondering, why did they put this particular obelisk right here in this spot in Central Park? You know, Dorothy, I don't think it's an accident. I'm gonna find out why. New York is one of America's oldest cities, but there's something inside Central Park that's much, much older than the United States. I was surprised to learn that there's an ancient Egyptian obelisk here, and more surprised to hear that artifacts tied to Freemasonry were found under it at its original location in Egypt. That doesn't make any sense, since modern Freemasonry didn't get started until 3,000 years after this obelisk was finished. That is, unless there was a form of Freemasonry that existed much earlier. This could mean that the men who built the pyramids were intimately tied to the men who built this country. I have a lot of questions about the obelisk. What were the Masonic artifacts found underneath it? Is there a reason the obelisk was placed in Central Park? Could this New York connection to ancient Egypt redefine the history of our country? Hi, Jan, how you doing?
Doing fine.
Good, I just came from Central Park and I looked at the obelisk.
Yeah?
Well, I'm wondering if you could do a little research and see if you can find anything out about the geographic location of that obelisk. You know, I just don't think it's a coincidence that they put it at that spot in Central Park.
Sure, I can do that.
That'd be great. Hey, there's one more thing. You remember that Freemason that we met in New York? What was his name?
Yeah, Brendan Green.
Brendan Green, that's it. Okay, thanks for that. Let me know what you find out.
Okay, bye, honey.
Bye-bye. Good news. I heard back from Brendan. We're going to meet up in Brooklyn later this afternoon. Hey, Brendan, good to see you again.
Scott, how are you?
Hey, I was just in Central Park, and I saw the ancient Egyptian obelisk that was brought here back in the 1800s. And one of the things I learned is that the Freemasons were involved in getting it over here from Egypt. And you being a New York Freemason, I thought, who better to ask?
Absolutely. I was brought over here by a fellow brother, Henry Honeychurch Garinge, who of course is a Freemason. It was a Herculean task, weighs over 200 tons, and it's about 70 feet tall.
Henry Honeychurch Garinge was a Civil War veteran and a lieutenant in the United States Navy. He arranged a furlough just so he could lead the effort to bring the obelisk from Egypt to New York's Central Park.
Why don't we walk over here to Lady Liberty for a comparison?
Okay. Well, there she is, Lady Liberty.
I never get tired of looking at her.
Likewise. You know, some differences. The obelisk is 70 feet, and Lady Liberty is 305 feet. Liberty was sent here in over 200 cartons. Meanwhile, the obelisk was sent here in one piece.
You know, that's amazing. Think about it, 200 crates, and then she was assembled, and the obelisk was brought over in one piece.
Around 96th Street, they had built the trestle bridge, and it was only used for that one time.
Just for the obelisk,
Just for
to
that.
get it to
Exactly.
Central Park.
Exactly right.
Wow. So there was a lot of money spent.
A little over $100,000, and William H. Vanderbilt funded the entire thing.
The Vanderbilt family, they were the ones that made their money in the railroad business. When Cornelius Vanderbilt died, he left his son William $100 million. That would be worth $2 billion in today's dollars. Today, there are still a couple Vanderbilts in the public eye. Fashion designer Gloria Vanderbilt and her son, journalist Anderson Cooper. But the question is, why would a family founded by railroad tycoons pay a fortune to bring this obelisk to America? So that begs a question. Do we know if William Vanderbilt was a Freemason?
There are many that speculate that he was, but it's an unanswered question.
But his father was, right?
From what we're told, yes. You know, ironically enough, most of the famous Freemasons are publicly known, but some of them, when you start searching and looking for it, they kind of don't show up.
You know, Brendan, when you think about this, to bring a 200-ton massive piece of stone over from Egypt here to America, that was an engineering marvel that Geringe did, and involved some pretty fantastic elements of geometry and mathematics. And these concepts were very important to the ancient Egyptians, of course, and to modern Freemasons.
Exactly right.
So how did they get these two obelisks to England and the US?
Well, here, let me show you.
Ah, okay.
This is the transportation of the England obelisk. Well, Freemason John Dixon, who was an engineer by trade, designed this submarine-like vessel. This vessel was actually towed behind a much bigger ship. Storm hit them in the middle of the voyage, and this sunk to the bottom of the Biscayne Bay.
You're kidding, how'd they get it up?
The towing ship Olga had to come back and save them, and 6 sailors were lost.
Really?
Absolutely, yes.
How long did it take for them to get this up? It sank to the bottom,
Within
right?
4 to 5 days after that happened.
It's amazing that it even survived. So how'd they get the American obelisk over here?
Honeychurch Geringe actually bored a hole through his vessel because the obelisk was too long to fit within it. Then they back welded around the encasement of it, and they transported that all the way across the Atlantic Ocean.
So the obelisk was sticking out the front of the ship.
Absolutely.
Brendan, this is really an incredible story. Egypt allows 2 important obelisks standing in the front of the temple at Heliopolis, one to go to England, one to come to the United States. But if you stop and think about it, this was one of the most amazing engineering feats of the time. Ancient Egyptians not only developed the first forms of writing, but were also instrumental in the way we use medicine and mathematics today. A 3,500-year-old obelisk being restored in Central Park has set me on a journey to find out if the Freemasons, a secret order that was largely responsible for establishing America, could have existed during the time of the pharaohs in ancient Egypt. If this is true, then it's possible that one of America's most powerful cities could have roots stretching all the way back to the ancient pyramids of Giza. You know, Brendan, one of the interesting things that Dorothy told me is that when the New York obelisk was taken out of its original place in Egypt, they found artifacts underneath it that some say might be connected to Freemasonry. Do you know anything about that?
Yes, sir. In fact, Henry Geringe himself found those artifacts.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and he had to call on the Grand Lodge of Egypt to come out and validate that these were Freemasonic symbols and tools that he found.
So they verified that these artifacts were absolutely legitimate.
Exactly right.
What were these artifacts?
One was a builder's square, one was a trowel, and the other was a lead-lined plum.
Okay.
I have some examples of that here for you.
As Brendan and I spoke more,
he revealed the significance of the artifacts to Freemasons: a trowel to spread the mortar that symbolically binds the brotherhood together. A builder's square and lead plumb line are reminders to square their actions towards what is honest and true. But versions of these physical tools were also used to build the pyramids in Egypt. Archaeologists have discovered that the pyramids were not built by slaves, as many people think, but by master architects. These men were experts in stone masonry, and upon their death were buried ceremoniously. Their bodies would be entombed in the fetal position with their heads pointing toward the setting sun. But the question remains, were the ideals of the master architects and ancient pharaohs also buried in ancient Egypt, or were they brought here to the United States?
Let's talk about the obelisk for a second itself. I've learned a little bit about the symbolism of it. It's a phallic symbol. It's also representing a ray of the sun, and essentially it's also a sundial. So really there are aspects of astronomy here that are connected to the obelisk, and of course astronomy is important to Freemasonry, is it not?
It's one of our 7 arts and sciences.
When you think about it, at the top of an obelisk, what you have is really a pyramid, right?
Yes, sir.
You know, that reminds me of something. We all see this every day, for that matter. On the back of a dollar bill, we have a pyramid. Now, the thing that I'm not really clear on is why is it that the top is separated from the rest of the pyramid, and why is there an eye in the middle?
Masons would say, some Masons, that the eye is the all-seeing eye or the eye of providence. But the unfinished capping stone represents an unfinished work.
This is a symbol that the work of America is never done.
Never done.
Like the pyramid, I think the all-seeing eye is a symbol that may have Egyptian origins. I think it's connected to the Eye of Horus, which was an ancient Egyptian symbol that stood for protection, royal power, and good health.
So if this all-seeing eye here represents the Eye of Horus, in essence, the eye of God or the eye of the sun, that takes us back to Egypt as well.
It's 100% correct.
You know, as I think about this obelisk in Central Park, do you think that the placement of it in Central Park at that spot has some type of meaning?
I would say absolutely. I would also venture to say it's not by any coincidence at all.
I know a lot more after talking to Brendan. Trouble is, he took a vow of secrecy when he joined the Freemasons. And that vow prevents him from telling me any more about the specific placement of the obelisk in Central Park. This investigation reminds me of another American obelisk connected to the Freemasons, the Washington Monument. When I was in D.C. investigating secrets about the city's design, the Washington Monument was also under restoration. I found out that the city was laid out in accordance with a precise plan dictated by Freemason George Washington to an architect named Pierre L'Enfant. Structures like the Washington Monument and the White House were designed by Freemasons and were placed in very specific spots which create alignments and Masonic symbols when seen from above. I feel like the obelisk the Masons placed here in New York must be part of something bigger as well. But what?
Hi, Jan. What's up?
Well, I think I found something really interesting.
Oh, yeah? What's that?
You remember that William Vanderbilt paid for the obelisk to come to New York?
I do?
He was also the one who got to decide where to place it once it got there.
Oh, really?
I haven't figured out why he chose Central Park yet, but I did find something else.
What's that?
The Vanderbilt family was responsible for building Grand Central Station.
Really?
Yes, and there's something in there that's amazing. The ceiling has a mural painted on it that's huge, and it seems to have something to do with astronomy.
When I heard there was an Egyptian artifact I needed to check out in New York City, I assumed it was something sitting in a museum. Instead, it was a real Egyptian obelisk standing inside Central Park, brought here by the Freemasons. The obelisk has eroded over time. It's being restored today, but I think the obelisk's secrets have eroded too. Not only could this monument prove that aspects of Freemasonry existed during the times of the ancient pharaohs in Egypt, but it could also reveal an unexplored history of New York City. I'm trying to figure out why William H. Vanderbilt, one of the wealthiest men in America during the 1800s, would have placed this obelisk in Central Park, a desolate part of Manhattan at the time. Oddly enough, the Vanderbilts were also instrumental in building another New York landmark, Grand Central Station. My wife says that our next clue in this Masonic mystery could be on Grand Central's ceiling. 500,000 people walk through here every day, but hardly anyone ever looks up. On the ceiling are astronomical constellations similar to the night sky. But the ones here are not quite right. All of them appear to be reversed, like Pegasus, the winged horse. Orion the Hunter also appears to be reversed, but if you look closely, you see that the stars in his belt are actually in the right position, even though he's facing in a different direction. It's almost like I'm looking at the view God would have from above. But it's like Orion is calling out to us here on Earth. Why? Hi, Scott. I found some additional information online that actually points to two other obelisks in New York that may be related to the one in Central Park. Both seem to have Masonic connections. I hope this helps. Janet. Janet's email pointed out two more obelisks. The first is at the corner of Broadway and Fulton Street in the cemetery of an old church. There also seems to be another at the corner of Broadway and Fifth Avenue. I gotta check out these other obelisk sites, and I bet Dorothy will want to join me. Dorothy, I'm so glad you came. St. Paul's Church is one of the oldest churches in New York City. My wife, Janet, sent me an email. What she found on Google Earth is that there are 3 obelisks. You remember we started up at Central Park with Cleopatra's Needle?
Absolutely.
Well, there are 2 more obelisks in New York City, and they appear to line up. The second one is right here at St. Paul's Church.
Oh, that's amazing.
It's weird to see an obelisk rising up in the middle of a church cemetery. The monument honors Thomas Addis Emmet, an immigrant who was exiled from Ireland and made himself an American success. He wasn't a Freemason, but there is someone else at this church who was. And I think Freemasonry is what connects this obelisk to the one in Central Park. Recognize that face? George Washington.
George Washington.
This is where he attended church. When he became president, this was where he prayed. And after his inauguration, just a couple blocks down the street, he came here to pray. Yes. So there's obviously some very strong Masonic connections here. And there's another person that you might find very curious that has a connection to St. Paul's Church here, Pierre Lafont, the one who designed Washington, D.C.
Yes.
He also designed parts of this church as well.
He was a Mason for sure.
Oh, absolutely.
So there are strong connections here with Freemasonry. You know, there's one more obelisk. And if you have some time, I'd love to have you come with me and we'll go take a look at that last one.
Well, let's go.
Let's grab a cab. Today, an ancient Egyptian obelisk sits in New York City's Central Park. Out of the 40 million people who visit the park each year, I bet few of them know that this obelisk is actually part of a series of obelisks that may tie Freemasonry to the ancient Egyptians. Both groups use mathematics, geometry, and astronomy to track the movements of the heavenly bodies. But history says that both groups were also separated by nearly 3,000 years and couldn't have had contact. If the Freemasons did in fact carry on traditions from the ancient Egyptians, this could mean that many of our country's oldest cities, including this one, could have hidden alignments, cryptic symbols, and a forgotten history that stretched back to 1400 BC. Dorothy, I want to show you something I think you're going to find interesting. Take a look at this picture. See these 3 points?
Yes.
This first point you'll recognize, that's where the Egyptian obelisk was, that you know so well. The second point is St. Paul's Chapel. Now, where we're going is to a third obelisk. Look at how they form a line.
That's stunning.
And I don't think it's a coincidence, do you?
No, not at all.
This third obelisk is really interesting because this is an obelisk which is a monument to General William Worth. I'm sure he was a Mason. Here you see him. And if you take a look at the blanket on the horse, see the 5-pointed star? I think that's confirmation that he was indeed a Freemason. There's another thing, Dorothy, that's very surprising. Worth's body is buried at the obelisk.
Well, that's highly unusual to have someone buried in the middle of Manhattan.
It really is. My understanding is that the obelisk is right near the Flatiron Building, so we have to be looking for that. There it is.
All
right there.
right. As long as I've been in New York City, I've never noticed it.
Well, you know, this General Worth is an interesting character. He was assigned to be the Secretary of War in Texas. So you've heard of Fort Worth, Texas, right?
Absolutely.
Well, now you know why it's named that.
Why is he buried here? Why isn't he buried in Fort Worth?
That's a good question. And the reason is he's a native New Yorker.
Well, there you go.
Okay, Dorothy, let's think about this for a second. We've got 3 points on our line. The first one that was put down was St. Paul's Church. And this is significant to Freemasons because at St. Paul's Church, this is where George Washington prayed and L'Enfant had a hand in its design.
That's correct, yes.
Now, the second one that was put down is the Worth obelisk. General Worth was a Freemason. And the last one to be put down is the real Egyptian obelisk, connected to Freemasonry without question, because you had 9,000 Freemasons that traveled right up Fifth Avenue here, walked right by the Worth obelisk to Central Park for that ceremony.
That's correct.
I assumed that these 3 were in a line, a straight line. And when I looked at it closely, they're not straight. There's a little bit of a jog here. The question is, why?
And to your point, all of this area did not have all of these buildings, so it would have been very easy for surveyors to make a straight line from Central Park all the way down to St. Paul's, and they didn't.
Back in those days, almost all the surveyors were Freemasons, and if they wanted to make a straight line, that would be no problem for them. But because this is not, there has to be a reason for that.
alignments have always been very important to people. Freemasons, the Egyptians, and even modern New Yorkers. Twice a year, the setting sun lines up perfectly with Manhattan's east-west streets, a phenomenon that locals call Manhattanhenge, which is supposed to happen today. The reality is that it happens in any city laid out on a grid, but New Yorkers have really embraced the event. I can't believe how early photographers line up to get a good spot on the Tudor City Bridge over 42nd Street. Some of these guys have been here since noon. Trouble is, there are some clouds on the horizon. Despite the weather, people are everywhere hoping to get a glimpse, hoping for a break in the clouds. It's not going to happen. This is what Manhattanhenge looks like when clouds don't get in the way. The star we can't live without, the sun, shines right between the city's buildings, and people get excited about it. The name of this New York phenomenon is connected not to Egyptians, but to the people who built Stonehenge, an ancient structure in England that I've examined. There's disagreement about when Stonehenge was built, maybe as early as 1600 BC, but we know with certainty that Stonehenge was built, in large part, to track the sun. I'm glad I got to see people turn out for Manhattanhenge. But now I need to figure out the mystery behind the three obelisks and why they're placed where they are. Some people may think it's just a coincidence that the Central Park, Emmett, and Worth obelisks are laid out the way they are. Not me. I think there's a reason for their placement in a row just shy of a straight line, and I intend to figure out what it is. The skyline of New York City was developed over hundreds of years. But three things hidden within it may reveal a forgotten history of the city. My investigation into an old Egyptian obelisk in Central Park has led to a bigger mystery, which involves two other obelisks carefully placed by Freemasons into the layout of the Big Apple. I think the specific locations of these three obelisks could reveal that an ancient Egyptian alignment is present right here in Manhattan. But why? I've asked a friend of mine, who's a designer, to help me determine why the Freemasons would have placed these obelisks the way they did nearly 100 years ago. Wow, that is awesome.
I tried to put some landmarks just to kind of give you a picture of where things are and, you know, set up a little atmosphere.
You did a great job.
Thanks.
Empire State Building. That one I know is the Flatiron Building. It's pointing right at the Worth obelisk. And of course, the Freedom Tower.
They're not to scale, but it kind of just gives you an idea of where things are located.
Well, what about the obelisks?
I have those too. They're much bigger so that you can get some of the detail in them, so it doesn't get confusing. Let's pull these off and then we'll pull out the obelisk.
Great, let's do it.
Here's the first one.
Well, this is the real Egyptian obelisk in Central Park, which is right by the Metropolitan Museum of Art, right about there. The Worth obelisk.
Here's the last one.
This is the Emmett obelisk, and this one goes to St. Paul's Chapel right here. Okay, now when you look at this, what does it look like?
A line.
A straight line. That's what I thought. But actually, it's not a straight line. And I want to check that to see if indeed it is off. Why don't we start by marking these 3 points. Here's St. Paul's Chapel. Here is the Worth, and then Central Park Egyptian obelisk.
So I have a straight edge here.
Perfect. it's off.
Yeah, just slightly.
We've got 3 points, and the one that's off is the Worth obelisk. The question is, why is it not straight? Why does it take this bend? Carrie, you know what? Something just occurred to me. Hold on a sec. I've got some pictures here that I took of New York. This is in Grand Central Station, and when I was in there, I noticed something very unusual. There are a number of constellations that are depicted on the ceiling. And what's unusual about them is they're not depicted as we look up at the stars, they're actually depicted looking down from space, or what God would see, except for the stars in Orion. Take a look at these 3 stars right here. These are the 3 stars in Orion's belt, and they're not straight. They're almost straight, just like these 3 obelisks are almost straight. This has got to be a depiction of Orion's belt.
So why would anyone spend this much energy recreating Orion's belt in Manhattan?
You know what? There is a precedent, and it goes back over 5,000 years. In Egypt, we see the same thing. The Great Pyramids in Giza are laid out like Orion's belt. This was discovered not that long ago.
So what's so special about Orion's belt?
Well, in Egyptian mythology, Orion symbolized Osiris, the male god. These 3 stars in Orion's belt point to the star Sirius. Sirius in ancient Egyptian mythology symbolized the goddess Isis. And you know what? If you notice, these 3 obelisks point out into the harbor at what?
The Statue of Liberty?
The Statue of Liberty. She symbolizes the goddess Isis amongst many other goddesses. So I do think we are onto something here, and I think this is Orion's belt. And this is exactly the type of thing that the Freemasons would do. So really what these 3 obelisks represent is a piece of Egypt here in Manhattan. The Central Park obelisk, Manhattan Henge, Orion's belt. These are all clues that tie to one sacred subject, astronomy. It was one of the ancient mysteries taught to the pharaohs in Egypt, but today it is inscribed in nearly every Freemasonic lodge around the world. Understanding the way our world fits within the universe was not only important for ancient cultures, but still holds great importance today. This investigation proves that the bonds between Freemasons and the ancient Egyptians were much stronger than I ever suspected. I wonder if there are other old structures like the Central Park obelisk holding secrets of our country's past. I'm sure they're out there, and I can't wait to find them.